EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Victory Monday on Birds 365, your daily deep dive into the Philadelphia Eagles, coming off a massive win this week. I'm Zander Krause, joined by my co-host John McMullen, the number one Eagles beat reporter in town. Johnny Mac, how you feeling after a big victory for the Philadelphia Eagles yesterday, 28-3, Johnny Mac?
Well, you told me I got yelled at. Overreaction Monday. Let's do it. Let's do it positive.
Oh, I'm going to be overreacting, John, all day.
This is the greatest team in the history of football. I think. That's an overreaction.
There you go. Johnny Mac, big win, though, at 28-3. And look, here's what I'll say, and we'll get your takeaways. We'll dive into the game, the defense, the offense. Jalen Hurts, they win again with A.J. Brown. Their record with A.J. just continues to get better.
No, he doesn't matter. Just run the ball. Just run the ball. A.J. doesn't matter. Run it.
Saquon had a big day, though, John. Hey, look, you blew him off the page, John. They never had a chance in that football game. And dare I say it, I'll say it again. I said it on the post game, and I'll be saying it all week. Bring bully ball back in the city of Philadelphia, Johnny Mac.
Well, you're picking low-hanging fruit there because not everybody. There's some logical people, but everybody's going to go with that because they want to run the ball. They always want to run the ball. It's forever 1975 in this city. Well, I'm just telling you, it's not sustainable. That's all. On one Sunday at MetLife Stadium, it was perfect. But it doesn't translate. There's no transit of property in this league. It doesn't translate from week to week. Doesn't.
Why do you say that, though? Because I look around and I look at the top teams in this league, John, and plenty of them are running the football effectively and often right now in this league.
Not like the Eagles do. Yeah, everybody's hyper-focused on the in thing. The in thing now is Shanahan, Kubiak. How many times have I talked about it on this show? How many times? So you look at the best teams. Hey, if you want to be that, go hire a different coach and be that. Go get a different quarterback and be that. And then we can have that discussion. You can't do that with this setup consistently. Can't play regular play action. So, you run the ball. They said that they run the ball to set up the pass. They don't, but they do it more than the Eagles. Those types of teams. So get that coach. Go hire whatever Kubiak is under Kyle Shanahan in the offseason. Go get a different quarterback. That's traditional play action. That comes out from under center, that's going to get the football out on time, and go change. But don't translate San Francisco or any other team or Detroit, most notably, any other team having success that way. Green Bay, don't translate that here.
What about the Ravens?
You got to play like them. Well, the Ravens are unique, and that's why I like the Ravens. Because the Ravens, you can try to copy what the Ravens do, but you don't have the explosion of Lamar Jackson, as good as Jalen Hurts is. He's a unique player that I wouldn't go trying to copy. I always compare, like my NBA analogies. Oh, you can go copy what Steph Curry does. Go ahead, go try. You can't copy what Lamar Jackson does.
I'm not saying you can copy him, but you can copy the philosophy of running the football.
Why would you copy the philosophy of running the football like Baltimore runs the football without the guy that makes it go?
Well, I mean, they got, they're relying on the offensive line. They got a great running back there in Derrick Henry, similar to we have here in Saquon Barkley. I mean, we had Mike Gill last week.
That's what I'm saying. You're cookie cutting. The philosophies are not the same because the players are not the same. They don't run the same system because they don't have the same players. It's not an insult of the Eagles coaches. They do the best they can with the talent they have. And often it's very good. It's been very good for a long time, which sets up the expectations and the entitlement that thinks this kind of thing should happen every week. whether it's the New York Giants or whether it's the Detroit Lions, from top to bottom. It should be the same every week. It doesn't work that way. That's all I'm trying to say. They knock the pin down in front of them. There's a lot to that. And they did it easily, and they did it without sweating, as they often do, like with the Cleveland Browns. There's a lot of positive. There's a ton of positive from the defensive side, particularly. They got a fullback in Ben Van who's knocking people off the ball. There's a ton of positive. All I'm trying to say, and there is no transitive property in this league.
I don't agree.
Because you did it against the New York Giants doesn't mean you could do this. And by the way,
the Giants defense was good coming into this game. They were a top defense. They were top 10 or top 15 in the league.
The Giants
they lead the NFL in sacks.
Does the Giants defense play with the Giants offense? Do you not think there's a little frustration there? Do you not think, God damn it, this team can't move the ball at all, so I'm going to get out of my gap and try to make a play? Do you not think human nature plays into it at all? I swear to God, everything's in a damn vacuum.
I know, but now you're going to tell me because the offense scored no points, the defense is a sieve. The defense isn't a sieve. That's a solid defense coming into this game.
I'm not saying it's a sieve. I'm saying the snowball started downhill.
I get what you're saying.
The first quarter, the Eagles were awful again. The first quarter, again, they couldn't move the football. It was punt, 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 punt. And then they got the big play. And then the snowball started going downhill. They didn't dominate. But Devontae Smith caught one pass for -2 yards. That's going to translate. How do you think that's going to go for the rest of the season? Why would you want that to be the rest of the season as an Eagles fan?
Oh, you tell me all the time, stats don't matter in this league. If we're building a team that relies on stats for Devontae Smith, then you're not.
No, I'm not talking about the actual number. I'm talking about the actual traffic, not being involved in the offense, and the success of Saquon Barkley. You go back 1 week prior, what were the numbers? I mean, the assumption that, he ran for 176 against the Giants and didn't even play the fourth quarter, so just do that again next week. I mean, you don't think that's silly?
I think when you have a top 5 offensive line, it's not silly. No, I don't think that's silly to say, I'm going to come in and I'm going to run the football down your throat and make.
They didn't have a top 5 offensive line yesterday.
Okay, well, imagine when they do.
Yeah, imagine when they do.
Doesn't that prove the point even more?
No.
You're running over teams with Fred Johnson and Tyler Steen.
No, because the week prior, they had a top 5 offensive line. It couldn't run the ball at all for the majority of the game until Jordan went out. That's the point. Like, do you really want to go long and say, we can run the football like that with Fred Johnson and Tyler Steen? So, Jordan, take your time. Mekhi, take your time. Don't try to get through the concussion protocol. By all means, sit as long as you really want to go that. You really want to go down that route and think it's going to translate over a larger sample size, and that's going to be better football than when Jordan Mailata, one of the best left tackles in football, Mekhi Becton, obviously, learning the position, but he's better than Tyler Steen because he lapped him. I don't get it, man. I don't get it.
Okay, well,
they're playing a bad opponent. They took advantage of it. Gold star. It doesn't translate to anything else.
So you're telling me you watched that game and there's not anything you can forget trying to become a bully ball team like I will be calling for all week for the team to be. My call to the Philadelphia Eagles, play frickin' bully ball. You're telling me there's no gray area in the middle. You think this team can meet to do more of that to help their offense along?
No, I think they got to get better offensively to compete where they want to go. I'm not talking about beating the New York Giants in week 7. I'm talking about where they want to go. They want to win the NFC East. They want to be a significant contender in the NFC. And I'm talking about getting better so they can go where they want to go. And this was a positive step in that direction. It was not an identity game where you say, all right, let's scrap everything. Let's have Jalen Hurts throw the football 15 times because nobody trusts him, which is not possible, by the way. Even if you don't trust him, you're going to get behind. You're going to play good teams eventually. You're going to need to score some points, and you're going to have to be able to do some different things. Running game, part of that, not the focal point of that. Part of it, not the focal point of that.
I want to welcome everybody in this morning to Birds 365 with Zander, Krause, John McMullen. Appreciate everybody being here. Hit that like button this morning. We'll have 2 great guests for you guys. Jeff Kerr coming up. I'll see what Jeff has to say about bully ball. And then we'll talk to Chris Franklin in hour number 2. We're going to get into the defense right now. I want to remind everybody, a massive day from Saquon Barkley yesterday means a Philadelphia Eagles jersey will be given away to one channel member today. The link is pinned in the chat. We already picked up 1 member, Chan. Appreciate you becoming a member, Chan. Get your memberships in. We'll be giving away the jersey tomorrow morning on the after hours of Birds 365, 10 a.m. tomorrow. I'll be doing the drawing, the raffle for the winner, and we will give away that jersey, and I will order that as soon as I hear from the winner. So appreciate all of you guys. Get those memberships in. Johnny Mac, let's talk defense, man. 8 sacks yesterday. A pretty dominant performance. Now, I get it. It's the New York Football Giants, and Daniel Jones really stinks. But, I mean, they showed up, man. 8 sacks, 2 for Nakobe Dean, 2 for Jalen Carter, 1 for Nolan Smith, which, by the way, he's starting to really come along. He looks much better as a 3-down player than Bryce Huff. 1 for Bryce Huff, 1 for Josh Sweat, and 1 for developmental player Jalix Hunt. How much you taking away from what the defense was able to do yesterday?
Same thing, but I think it's more important for the defense because I think they're building up some confidence.
Yeah,
Obviously, they're so limited. That's what enabled, like I said, it was punt to start that game, I believe. So the Giants had it 3 times, the Eagles had it 2 times, and it was very clear that, the Eagles had some rope here. And eventually they'd get a drive going, and it happened on their 3rd drive. And the big run, that wasn't the big run. That was AJ Brown for 13 yards. But you could see it starting, and that ended up as a punt. And then when they got it back, it was the big drive. So, the first quarter was just a nightmare for football people. I mean, it was some poor football going on, but you could see the Eagles finally moved it a little bit at the end of the quarter, and you could say, all right, eventually they're going to get something going. They're going to score some points, and the Giants were so limited. And when you talk about Daniel Jones, and he's part of it, but I mean, I think they had 4 yards rushing from their running backs in the first half, 4 yards rushing. So, I mean, they couldn't do anything. So you have this luxury, and this is what I talk about, that transitive process. You have this luxury of knowing, all right, you can stay disciplined. You don't have to, if you're down 14-0 to one of those teams you're talking about that do this so well, you can't do that. You can't stay patient. You got to try to get back in the football game. You have to play. It's a different style of game. You have to play differently. But the New York Giants are so offensively challenged. They could do whatever they wanted. They could stay patient. They could only throw the football 14 times and get out of there and win the game easily. So a lot of it is the style of the game. All games are different. Jim Sports will say all games have personalities. And this game was a personality that you could sort of just play conservatively and beat the brakes off this team. That's the personality of this game. And that's sort of what I'm talking about. That doesn't happen often in the modern NFL. With good teams, bad teams, and it doesn't happen that often. And the Eagles defense specifically, I focus more on that side because that's the side we know the offense is good. It's just a matter of how good, how well they play each week. Can they get it going early in the game? Can they figure out these slow starts? But we know the talent is good. Defensively, we don't really know that. And every time they have a game like this, even though it's the Giants, every time they have a game like the Cleveland last week, even though it's Cleveland, it gives them confidence and gives them success. A lot of young players. I think it's really important, more important for the defensive side.
Good stuff there. A lot of people on the sack. It was a sack party yesterday, Johnny Mac. A lot of sacks for that defense yesterday. And you're right. I mean, that Giants offense is inept. I took more offensively from the game. I think I appreciate what you said about the defense finding some confidence. I think the offense did too, though, in that game. I mean, they got the chance to sit on their ass in the fourth quarter and watch the backups because they handled business in the first three quarters. I felt pretty good about the performance. I was told all week it's an NFC East game. It's the NFL any given Sunday. The Giants have a good defense. The Giants lead the league in sacks. We blew them off the page, John, and I'm not taking nothing from it. I'll say that.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I would just say for the people, the woe is me people on the bridges when they're not playing well and want to fire the coach and say, I'm carrying the water for the coach. And then they get mad at me when I temper it and say, oh, beating a bad football team where the fans were fleeing in the third quarter is going to translate the same way moving forward. I mean, I'm pretty confident. I'm the one in the middle. I'm pretty confident. I'm the one that got the better handle on it. I'll say that. That is not going to translate to anything else than a Sunday in MetLife Stadium.
I felt pretty good about yesterday, Johnny Mac. And I'm sorry, you're not going to take it away from me. I think the Eagles found something that they can stick to yesterday, at least to some extent, and build on top of that. Your quarterback is clearly not ready to throw the ball 35 times a game, John. I think that's very clear to anybody that's watched this team.
Now, well, you better be that's fine if you want to believe that. I criticize Jalen Hurts, and there are issues. And I'm not saying there's not issues. But if he's throwing it 14 times a game, yeah, that ain't good.
Give me 17 to 20 to 25, somewhere in that range.
Oh, my Lord. 17, 25, okay. 25 to 30, I think, is the wheelhouse. 17. Heads are going to roll, my friend. Heads are going to roll.
Why?
Heads are
from the organization, from the men upstairs?
Unless they win the Super Bowl. Unless they win the Super Bowl. And I don't think they're winning the Super Bowl throwing it 17 times a game.
Let's get to a couple Super Chats before we get to Jeff Kerr, who will come up in a little bit. I told Jeff 25 this morning because I knew me and John were to have to break down the game a little bit. I'm surprised, John. You have nothing positive to take away from a big win over the New York football team.
I just said a bunch of positive stuff about the defense.
I know, but nothing overwhelming. Let me tell you, I mean, you'd think we barely squeaked by that measly team. But I appreciate it. Look, I appreciate you being in the middle and sticking to what you believe, Johnny Mac. Let's get to a couple Super Chats here. Appreciate everybody in the chat this morning. Always good from you guys. James Carver checks in. J Mac, name the top teams at the moment and who's most expected to go to the Super Bowl. Lions, Vikings, Chiefs, Ravens, 49ers, all run the ball to set up the pass regardless of shotgun versus under center. That doesn't affect it. James Carver seems to be siding on my part of it. Johnny Mac, what's your response to that?
Give me the teams again. Besides Baltimore,
Lions, Vikings, Chiefs, Ravens, Niners.
All right. Well, the Chiefs have the biggest playmaker in the sports. So they don't run the football. The Chiefs are a little bit different, so I'll put them up. They have Patrick Mahomes. So
Yeah,
we're
it's
really
always
going to
been-
have this
No,
conversation.
I agree with you. The Chiefs got to be put on a different level.
Yeah. Ravens, same thing, unique style. 49ers, Lions, yes. Jared Goff, Brock Purdy, good luck. Vikings, Sam Darnold. Vikings are not a contender, but they're a good team. Super Bowl contender, I'm talking about. All play the same style. Again, I have no problem. That's the in style in the NFL. I'm more of a, as I say, with Vic Fangio on the defensive side, I'd rather go with people that have their own unique ideas than copycats. That's me. But that's the in thing in the NFL. If you want to run that, go get a new coach, go get a new quarterback. I have no problem with it. I'm saying it's not going to work with the talent you have in Philadelphia. That's what I'm saying.
We'll see. James Carver checks in again. James, appreciate the $20 super chats, man. That's 2 today. Thank you so much for your support of the channel. James says, J-Mac, no one's saying only run or run for 200, but they must run to set up the pass. And even you say, look at score and you'll see run focus. They got up 3 scores with only 14 passes. Then yes,
Yeah,
Smitty
you know,
doesn't get rid of the
everyone in
ball.
the NFL says, and even those guys, by the way, Kyle and the Kubiaks and all the Shanahans and all their mentees say the same thing. You pass to get the lead, you run to win the game. That's what they all say. That ain't me. That's coming from them. That's the modern NFL. That's what you want to do. You want to pass to get the lead and play from the lead, and that's why those slow starts are such an issue still today for the Eagles. Pretty amazing. By the way, for all the stat people, the most amazing stat for the Eagles is that they're 4-2 without scoring a first quarter point. That tells you what kind of talent they have on offense, by the way. It's amazing they're 4-2 and they haven't scored a point in the damn first quarter. It's unbelievable. And it's not sustainable, as Nick Sirianni keeps saying. Or he does say before he got pissed off that nobody would stop talking about it. But yeah, Kyle Shanahan will say this and has said it. So, don't listen to me, listen to them. Kevin O'Connell, I know, says it all the time. So, yeah, that's not the way they view it.
James, appreciate the super chat, man. Let's keep rolling. A couple more super chats, then we're going to get to Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports. Vulnerable vitality. I like this. He checks in and he says, Quinyon, defensive rookie of the year noise. I'm putting some of my chips in on it. The dude looks better each week against solid competition. What do you two think about him being in the top 3 of the conversation? You got to think he's getting close to that.
I think he's been unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now, I do think, and I haven't looked around the league, maybe when we get Jeff on, I do think he's got to make a little bit more, like if there's a few
Splash
more
plays.
interceptions, splash
Yeah,
plays,
right.
I think to win the award. But I don't care about the award. He's been great.
Yeah. I don't either, but if you're talking about the award, those splash plays do go a
Yeah.
long way. Yeah.
But as far as his production and his play, he's been everything they wanted and more. And he's only going to get better.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He really looks good, man. Really, really, really looks like a good cornerback, a bona fide cornerback one in this league for hopefully a long time. Good pick there. Hopefully he continues to improve. Quinyon Mitchell, vulnerable. Thank you for the $10 super chat, man. 2 from Brian that will roll through. Brian, appreciate your super chats, man. 2 $5 ones from you. We appreciate that. Brian says, people are acting like this was a breakout game. The defensive line played very well and took advantage of a bad O-line finally. And then he says, offense is still a 2-trick pony. AJ or Barkley, no matriculation down the field. Smith had 1 catch for -2 yards. Offense has to wake up. Johnny Mack, that's
all right, Brian, baby. Yeah. No, he's right. He's right. Yeah, it is. I mean, the AJ play is a perfect example of this. I mean, everybody's excited about it, and they should be. For some reason, the Giants single covered him on 4th and 3. But, on 3rd and 3, Jalen Hurts had 2 easy completions for a first down and just passed them up for trying to press the football down the field a little bit more instead of taking and matriculating down the field. Now, would that have been exciting? You never get to see the touchdown, the big play, and all that. No, so it worked out in the end. But the individual decision making, again, that we all talk about, that's what's going to hold up long term. Are you going to count on a dumb defense double teaming everybody but AJ?
Yeah, right.
Hey, it worked.
Yeah, I can see the issue with that, no doubt. I mean, that was a bad 3rd down play there from Jalen Hurts. I'll tell you what, I mean, to give him credit, that was what a perfect throw that was.
Well, that's what I mean.
You're right. You're right. The decision
that's the
making.
Craziness of Jalen Hurts. You're like 3rd and 3. You're like, what the F, dude? Yeah. And then the next play, he's perfect ball.
I mean, that was as good of a throw as you'll get, man. Right on the money, on the run. AJ caught that sucker in stride, and
that's part of the frustration, I think.
Yeah,
it's like, where's that play to play? Because that's what defines the great quarterbacks, the play to play. Not, the Bradys, the Mannings, that they're there every single week.
Yeah.
Making good decisions, making big plays. So
yep, no doubt. Let's run through real quick. Two more super chats because I want to get to Jeff Kerr. Jeff, sorry to keep you waiting, man. We'll get you in just a second. Prince checks in, and Prince says, thank you, brother. He says, we lost the Super Bowl because we didn't have a strong running game with the JAKIB stop it emoji from Johnny Mac. He doesn't want to hear it, Johnny Mac.
We lost the Super Bowl. How about the special teams? How about the blown coverages? Yeah, Miles got hurt early in that game. The Eagles had a tremendous running game that year.
Yeah, they didn't.
You got to get to the Super Bowl before you lose the Super Bowl. I can't believe how many people don't understand that. So, one, it's an amazing accomplishment, number one. Number two, there's a bunch of reasons why they lost that game. And one of them is Miles got hurt early. But later in the game, special teams, blown coverages, and then even the unforced turnover when the Eagles looked like they were really going to seize control of that game by Jalen Hurts. Yeah, come on. They lost the Super Bowl because of the run. Come on, stop with the run. Stop. The whole game of football, it's nice to have a good running game. You don't build a foundation in 2024 on the damn running game. Even people with great running backs don't do it. That's not the way you win.
There's some teams doing it. The Ravens are definitely one of them doing it. Real quick, let's roll through this because I want to get to Jeff. Now. I don't want to keep Jeff waiting. Daniel says they also tells you that their scripted plays are trash, and Kellen does better calling plays off the cuff. I will say, John, what the hell is going on with the script coming into each week? I mean, holy mackerel.
Oh, now we're going to get on the script.
No, I'm talking about the first quarter.
On the script. I would say look at each game. Watch it. Everybody can go on there.
0 points in the first quarter, John. Isn't that partly a part of the script? Part of what they come in ready to call?
They are getting behind the sticks on every first drive because of a penalty, because of lack of execution.
Or pass.
Every single, or Jalen Hurts taking a coverage sack. Every single. I don't know what the script is because you never see it because they're always shooting themselves in the foot. And Kellen will tell you all the time, clean operation. He's told the fans that a million times. Number one, don't go downfield. I don't even blame Saquon on the shitty field for slipping. That's not his fault. But all of a sudden, 1st and 10 turns into 2nd and 15. All right. Is that a shitty script? I don't know. Maybe they had the shittiest script in the world. How the hell would you know? When Grand Calcaterra gets loose for 13, 14 yards and you're like, all right, they're moving. And then the next play, Britton Covey goes for 8 yards on a bubble screen. And Cam Jurgens is 2 yards down the field wandering like he's looking for, a party in Nebraska. I don't know. Is that shitty scripting? Maybe. More likely.
I don't know. I don't profess to know either, but I will say this: scoring 0 points in the first quarter through 6 games is a problem. You can't just take away 25% of
it. Ain't good. And the most amazing part of this team is they're 4-2. Forget about the first quarter, as you mentioned. That the whole goal of everybody in this league is to play from the lead, including the Eagles. And they don't score points early. And they're 4-2. That is, you want to take something positive? Take that, man. Because when they figure it out, they're going to be a problem.
No doubt. Let's get to a commercial break. We got a bunch more super chats. I will get to all of them no matter what. Don't worry. We will get to your super chats. Want to get to our man, Jeff Kerr, coming up next here on Birds 365. Before I do that, let me tell you about our great friends at BetUS. Go check out BetUS today and check out your screen. You can see the promo code YouTube150. That gives you 150% sign-up bonus on your very first deposit and then 125% on your second and third deposits up to $2,000. So go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Deposit less and bet with more at BetUS. They have the fastest payouts in the industry, 24/7 customer support, and they'll even give you your own custom account manager. So go check them out today and use the promo code YouTube150. We'll be back in 3 minutes with Jeff Kerr on Birds 365.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
He's blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid. Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Victory Monday edition of Birds 365. The Eagles destroyed the New York Giants 28-3. Joined now by Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports at Jeff Kerr CBS. Jeff, good to have you on the program, man. What do you think of the bully ball that the Eagles employed yesterday?
The Giants stink.
Yes, Jeff. Boy, it was worse than I expected.
They stink. I love watching that organization fail because they think they're smarter than everybody else. From John Mara down, Joe Shane from that Hard Knocks to what he did with Saquon Barkley, and they were right, by the way. They were right to do what they did, but the way they handle that situation to me, Jason Kelsey's right, and I've been saying this all summer. The fans are blaming the wrong person. Stop blaming Saquon Barkley for deciding to go to a better organization with a better chance to succeed. Blame your genius head coach, your genius general manager, your genius front office. They think that they're the smartest tool, the sharpest tool in the shed because Daniel Jones, who, by the way, in Daniel Jones' best season, Jalen Hurts ran for more touchdowns than Daniel Jones threw. They decided to give him $40 million a year. And then they have the audacity to tell people that, oh, we actually think it's a pretty good contract considering how the market went. No, Daniel Jones is terrible, and you saw that yesterday.
Yeah. Well, boy, man. Jeff, they were leaving in the third quarter. I don't know how Joe Shane survives this. I don't think he does.
Man.
I don't think it's going to happen this week or anything because, John Mara is a little bit less reactionary than, say, the Jets. But what a good day for New York football, by the way, as a whole. Luckily,
couldn't be happier for that city. The Jets stink. Jets are frauds. The Giants stink. The Mets are finally eliminated. They were never that good anyway. So, let's just call it.
Well, at least they got, that's impressive getting to the championship series.
It is.
Baseball, and Yankees are in the World Series. So New York's fine in baseball, but football, it's a disaster. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, everybody's mad at me, Jeff, because I say I don't take that much out of this game. Like, you see this transitive property. Oh, just bully ball. Zander wants bully ball. That this is going to work week to week to week in this NFL.
A good football team beat a bad football team. That's all I take out of it yesterday. The Eagles won. They should win next week. They should win the following week, if you want to be honest. But no, you're not going to bully ball. Didn't the Eagles bully ball their way to 9 wins in 2021? Didn't that have a lifespan?
Yeah, the margin of error is so small to play that way. Number one, because eventually you're going to get you're going to hit a team that can score some points. And you could say, well, you be disciplined, and all of a sudden you're down 2 scores and you're running the football, and they're saying, please run the football. Please do it. Please ignore A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and hopefully Dallas Goedert at some point soon. That you're playing right into their hands. A good football team. This is a bad football team. The Eagles did what they were supposed to do. And they even got some style points to make everybody happy. Because last week against Cleveland, same thing, minus the style points. But yeah, it's not their fault, but I can't take much out of this game other than I like the confidence it's giving to the defensive side, which needs some confidence.
Exactly. And, I had to hear from a lot of people this weekend on, the Giants are going to upset them. And my response always was, well, what makes you think the Giants are going to upset? Well, the Eagles aren't playing well. I'm like, you've seen the Giants play, right? You've seen their offensive line. You've seen their quarterback. You've seen how banged up they are. They really don't have any weapons. Malik Neighbors is really good, but that's all they have. Darius Slayton's probably going to get traded. Tyrone Tracy's a nice player, don't get me wrong, but he's a rookie. And Daniel Jones is our quarterback. I wasn't even concerned about the game yesterday. The Eagles didn't score in the first quarter. I'm like, oh, okay.
I thought it would be close because of the way the Eagles were playing. So from that point, I was impressed that they just stepped on their, throat and didn't let them up. I've been seeing that from the Eagles. So that part of it's good. But is it positive long-term to say, oh, your quarterback threw it 14 times and everybody's happy about that?
No. Jalen Hurts shouldn't be throwing the ball 14 times in the game, but yesterday was different. It called for you run the football down their throats and they build a big lead. And look, Hurts made the throws he needed to make. I'm not going to criticize him on his performance. He didn't turn the football over again. that's a winning formula. I mean, look, when you saw how poor CJ Stroud was yesterday, yeah, I mean, he was god awful.
Yeah, he's had a couple of those games this year. A little
Yeah.
bit of a regression.
It's almost like defenses kind of know what he's doing. And look, you see Jordan Love, right? Well, Jordan Love, as good as he is, he threw what? I want to say
He
2
throws a
interceptions
lot
this
of interceptions.
Yeah,
He
he's
throws a
got
lot,
it. He's got 8
but
on the year now.
he takes chances. I go back, and I'm not comparing the Packers to the greatest show on turf, Rams. Those Rams didn't care, basically, that they turned the football over, because they knew they were getting it right back and they were going to score quicker than you could score. And I get a little bit of that vibe. Too much, don't get me wrong. He's too reckless. But boy, you saw them come back from 4 touchdowns and almost win a game. That's the kind of offense that's really explosive. And there's only a few teams in that category. I think the Eagles can get there, but because of the talent they have, but they can't get there playing bully ball. They got to figure this thing out, specifically early in games. I mean, it's kind of amazing, Jeff. They're 4-2 and they haven't scored in the first quarter. That's the most impressive part of this team's start.
You know, the last time a team went their first 6 games with 0 points in the first quarter and made the league championship game?
1946.
You're close, John. 1933, the first year they instituted.
All right. Yeah.
The first time they instituted. So no, it's not a formula to actually sustain success in this league. They got to start scoring in the first quarter at some point.
Yeah, no doubt.
And they know that, by the way. They know that.
Yeah.
They're very cognizant of that.
No, they do.
It is fun. It is funny though when Nick goes, "Well, you guys keep talking about it." I'm like, of course we keep talking about it because you're not doing it.
Yeah.
Jeff, I want to ask you about your Penn State guy, Saquon Barkley, man. He showed up in a big way today. By the way, Jeff, I just dropped an overlay. Your screen is frozen up, so I just wanted to.
Yeah, I figured I froze up. You guys are fine, by the way, on my end.
Yeah, I don't know why your audio comes through clear and when you're in the green room, your video works well, but when you join the show, some reason that video just doesn't want to hold up. So I just have an overlay on there.
My internet here sucks, Zander. I got woods next to my house, so it's probably.
Here you go. We can hear you. The audio is clear, so we appreciate you joining. Jeff, Saquon Barkley, though, man, he ran all over his former team yesterday. I thought it was a big game for him. I'm sure it's a big confidence boost for him. Not that he was low on confidence or anything, but what were your takeaways from Saquon Barkley running all over his former team yesterday?
I mean, personally, I loved it. I knew what that game meant to him. I know
he was fired up, by the way.
Yeah, he downplayed it the whole week, but I talked to enough players in that locker room. I talked to him. He was ready for this game. It was one of those nothing personal, just business type things. But I think the whole story that came out when he saw those Giants fans having his jerseys lined up, and when the Eagles came off the bus, I think that was okay. Like, I'm already in the zone, but now I'm really in the zone because you guys are doing that. And look, Tiki Barber told me this past week, and Saquon and Tiki had their back and forth in the offseason. Look, he thought he thought a vocal minority would boo him, but he goes, I don't think they'll boo him. I think they're going to boo the uniform. And Tiki admit, well, they booed him, and he did. Great players did what great players do.
Yeah, even from early on when they were struggling, it was punt, punt early in the game. That he was running people over. You could see he was just fired up. And I think he was getting booed, and I think he didn't expect to get booed. Which maybe was a little bit naive. What was the story
with the burning jersey? Did somebody burn a jersey?
Yeah, they were burning his jersey.
Well, I know they were burning his jerseys, but how did he see it?
They did. They lined it up on the fence when the Eagles were coming off the team bus. Giants fans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And they did it like right in front of him.
Yeah.
Jeez. Man, I don't fire him up. Was that before the game he saw that?
Yeah, he was coming when they were coming in. Yeah, so they were all prepared. And then they left by the third quarter because they were getting their ass kicked. So maybe they should have Thought about that, but yeah, I mean, look, that's the emotional part of the fan base. The Eagle, it's well known by now. The Giants didn't offer Saquon Barkley a contract. He had to go somewhere. He loves the area. He loves Philadelphia. He's from the Lehigh Valley. He's from Penn State. You know, he went to Penn State. So, you know, it was a good fit for him. But I don't think any of this changes that the Giants made the right decision for them. The Eagles made the right decision for them. I think both of those things can be true. Both of those things remain to be true. But while I say that, Joe Shane cannot survive this, Jeff Kerr. That is my thought process. Because nobody understands that, including the owner of the Giants. And this was his worst nightmare. I said it before the game. I said, this can't happen. And it happens. Yeah, I believe he had 187 total yards, and the Giants had 119.
Yeah.
This is his worst nightmare.
And you have to wonder what John Mara was thinking yesterday, because he wanted to keep Saquon Barkley. And
well, he's a dummy, because I think a lot of people, and here's the problem. I think a lot of people think, well, if we were on the Giants, he'd have 187 total yards. Hell no.
No, he wouldn't.
Not with that freaking team.
I still say the problem with the Giants is this. John Mara and their 2 Super Bowl championships over the last, 2007, so 17 years, those championships in 7 and 11, in 07 and 11 were fool's gold. They really were, because they upset. They upset the undefeated New England Patriots. And look, I know it's one game.
I won't say they're fool's gold. I won't go that far, because you won. But they weren't, you know, sometimes I used to have this argument with Jody all the time. Sometimes the best team doesn't win.
Yeah, and they happen to do it twice.
Yeah. The best example of that ever is what you just pointed out. They beat the best Patriots team. All the Super Bowl championships the Patriots won, their best one didn't win.
Their 11 team was even worse, because they won 9 games in the week NFC East, had a negative point differential. The only reason they got in was because the Eagles and Cowboys decided to suck that year, but they took advantage of it. They had an easy wild card game. They had a couple of, I think the Falcons were the 1 seed that year, and I think they got upset. And they beat the 49. Remember the Kyle Williams muff punt and all that stuff? So they won there, and they were just a bad matchup for the Patriots both times.
Yeah, because they had a really good front four, and they got pressure right up the middle.
And Steve Spagnuolo is probably the greatest assistant coach of all time, the way we're going right now.
Yeah, he might be.
Yeah, he's
not a great head coach, but
Jeff, is there any part of an identity that the Philadelphia Eagles offense can take from yesterday's 28-3 win over the Giants? Or am I talking crazy when I believe bully ball is back in the city of Philadelphia?
The bully ball ain't back, but I'll reason with you. Give the ball to 26. I think that's always a good strategy. Give the ball to 11. Give the ball to 6. I know Devontae Smith had one catch.
Not Devontae. Yeah.
But by the way, John, remember 2 years ago when the Eagles beat Detroit and everybody was making a big deal about Smith?
Devontae. He didn't get it.
He didn't get a catch. I feel bad for you fantasy team owners that have Smith. I'm one of them. So
well, nobody gets these games have personalities, and when it became clear that the Giants couldn't do anything, at that point when you're up really 14-3, but let's say 21-3, you just run the ball to get the hell out of there.
Especially in that stadium.
Honestly, I think there's something positive to take from just that, John. To see the identity of the game and adapt and play to that identity. I think that's something the Eagles have struggled to do in the past.
But you can't. I think people realize by now. I think they realize. Maybe they don't. Your best player is A.J. Brown. And, Devontae Smith is certainly in the top 5. I had him at number 3.
I think Saquon's up there too, my
You
friend.
can debate. You can debate. They're, 2 of their best players. Dallas is up there as well. Dallas is top 10, maybe even higher when he's
Where's
healthy.
Saquon?
Saquon's in top 10.
Top
He's
5.
in there.
I'm giving him top 5.
Well, remember who's on this team. Again, I don't think people realize Lane Johnson. Lane's in that guy. Lane's 2. So we did our top 25.
And we're going pound for pound here too. We gotta keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So
right.
I think we had him at 6. So, and people say, "Oh, that's an insult." Well, is it? Because AJ was 1, Lane was 2, DeMonte was 3, Jordan was 4, and I forget who was 5. Jalen Carter.
I think
Jalen
Saquon Barkley is a better running back than Devontae Smith is a wide receiver. And I love Devontae Smith.
All right, you can make the argument. I'm just saying, but people take it's not really an insult when you think about it.
This is where I will defend Zander on the whole bully ball thing. I don't agree with him, but I'll defend him. When you see Fred Johnson try to protect Jalen Hurts, it's kind of laughable.
Well, that's what I mean. But Zander said they had a top 5 offensive line. I'm like, no, they didn't. Not
yesterday. They did not.
Oh, Jeff, what about the point of what? Imagine when they do have a top 5 O line.
They did the week prior
off the page.
They did the week prior and averaged less than 3 yards per carry with Saquon Barkley. It doesn't translate from week to week because anybody. You're talking to a guy who covered Adrian Peterson. Anybody can be stopped in the running game if you want to stop the running game. If you really want to stop it.
The Eagles did it, stopped Adrian Peterson in a playoff game. I still remember they were bragging about Adrian Peterson having 2 touchdowns in that Eagles-Vikings game in 08. I'm like, you want to go on the 1-yard run thing. Everybody loves to get on Jalen Hurts. Adrian Peterson's 2 touchdowns were from 1 yard. Outside of a 39-yard run, the Eagles pretty much stopped him the majority of the game, and the Vikings couldn't do anything.
Yeah. Well, who was their quarterback at the time?
Tavares Jackson.
Was it Tavares? So it was either Christian Ponder or Tavares. But now 1 year they were playing the Packers in the playoffs. He had 2 200-yard games against the Packers in the regular season. 2 200-yard games.
It's a freak
against the Pack. And the playoffs come around, and I think they held him to 130. And they were celebrating. They won the game, so obviously. And they held him to 130. But you can do some things to even with, and I often say, to me at least, not the best running back, because Adrian he was not a good pass receiver, not a good pass protector, but just pure runner. He's the best pure runner since Jim Brown. Just physical gifts, power, speed. But he's a lot like Saquon. And the other week, Kevin Stefanski brought that comparison up because they're so similar, powerful, strong, jump cut. And he made that comparison. You can stop the running game if you want to stop the running game. Cleveland stopped the running game. And Jordan Mailata was out there for the part of the game, and Mekhi Becton was out there. You can stop the running game. It is not an insult to Saquon Barkley. Anybody can do it. If you want to, be susceptible to the pass, that's what makes it difficult. That's what makes it great to have all these playmakers for the Eagles. But it doesn't matter if it's Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Adrian Peterson, Christian McCaffrey if he's healthy, any running back you want to put in there, Bijan Robinson if you want to bring him back, you can stop the running game if you really want to. But then you have to pay for it on the back end. And that's the beauty of it. Not, we're going to run the ball. We're going to just run. Then you're fucking screwed. Sorry for the language. Jordan Mailata. Then you're just screwed. You're screwing yourself. That's all I'm trying to impart.
I think there's a gray area somewhere in here. Jeff, I mean, look at the top teams in the league, Jeff. right? I mean, Lions, Chiefs, Ravens, Niners, Vikings, they're all running the ball.
The Lions
All
weren't
of
running
them.
the ball. The Lions weren't running the ball when they were down 10-0 yesterday. As someone who did that game, they weren't running the ball when they were down 10-0.
Yeah, how many completions did Jared Goff have?
Jared Goff completed his first 15 passes. He had 150 passer rating. He has the best 3-game stretch for passer rating in NFL history. Jared Goff, that
He's
guy is
unbelievable.
he's on
the
a heater
MVP.
right now.
He's the MVP.
He's on a heater right now, John. So this is how much faith Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson have in Jared Goff right now. They had the Jake Bates field goal. It was about from 54 yards. It's 2nd and 10. You would think the Lions are going to kill clock. Now, you know what?
Well, I'm not trusting Bates from 54.
Yeah. No, you know what? No, but you know what Campbell did? Nah, we're going to throw it. Jared Goff throws it to Amon-Ra St. Brown in one of the tightest windows I've ever seen. And it was perfect pitch and catch. They set up a 44-yard. It was a great throw. Amon-Ra St. Brown caught all 8 of his targets from Jared Goff yesterday.
Jahmyr Gibbs still had 15 carries for 116.
The ball never hits the
Montgomery,
ground.
9 carries for 31.
But they were running the ball when they took the 28-17 lead. That's what I'm trying to say.
The game was over. 9 carries for 31 yards. And David Montgomery's a heck of a running back.
Montgomery got hurt yesterday.
He got stripped. That's the only reason Minnesota was in the game, because they punched the football out of David Montgomery.
Yep.
That's a turnover. I mean, that's. He
gave 9 touchdowns, but do the math. What is that? That's not effective, Zander. 31 yards on 9 carries is not effective. Gibbs was effective. Montgomery was not.
Yeah, it's the whole body of work, though, John. I'm not just picking out David Montgomery's 9 carries. They ran the ball 24 times for 150 yards.
Yeah, but they were running the ball when they took the lead. They weren't running the ball when they were trailing.
I think Philadelphia is way too infatuated with just airing out the ball. That's all I'm getting.
Are you serious?
Philadelphia?
I bang my head against the wall because of this
Philadelphia
city.
wants 3 yards in the cloud of dust.
My God, they are obsessed with the passing game. It is the exact opposite.
Well, it's John. The organization is not the fan base. The organization is obsessed with the passing game.
Yes, because the organization is smart. The organization, you can say what you want about the Eagles. They are clearly one of the best organizations in the NFL.
They're definitely top 5.
And by the way, when you talk about Nick Sirianni and his future and whether he gets this thing to where it needs to be, where he can be back, don't be surprised if they're looking in another direction. Everybody's talking about Bill Belichick's not going to be the coach.
No, Bill Belichick is 20 years in the past. The Eagles are looking ahead. You know what?
Don't be Ben Johnson.
Yeah, Ben Johnson's the guy.
Don't be surprised if that's the guy.
I'd love Ben Johnson here, but Ben Johnson would probably deploy an offense that the owner does not like.
No,
the owner would love his offense.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't.
I don't know. He's got Jared Goff in a lot of play action. He's got him under. Now Jared Goff's on a tear, by the way. 22 of 25 yesterday. I think the week before. Didn't he have a perfect game recently?
Yeah, he had a perfect
game.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, here's a good question for us, since this is Birds 365. Is Jared Goff better than Jalen Hurts?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
He's the MVP of the league.
Yeah. Well, that's why I wanted to ask, because I think Eagles fans would be insulted by that. I mean, Chiefs fans were just insulted yesterday because I said Josh Allen is the best quarterback in football this year. And they're like, how about he wins an MVP first? I'm like, you guys do know your team is 6-0 with your quarterback playing like dog shit. And he's going to get better. But sure, you're focused on Josh Allen.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I want to bang my head against the wall with the running game. I'm like, come on, guys. Can we get past this?
I mean, the Eagles have to somewhat believe in it, John. They paid more for Saquon Barkley than they have for a running back in how many years?
They believe in building a good offense. And they believe in getting good players.
Yeah, breaking. Eagles signed talented player.
if
Jeff,
you want
John,
to,
can
if you
dismiss that, it's a running back. They let Miles walk. They let DeAndre walk. They made this.
They let Miles walk because they saw he really wasn't that
This
great.
is their biggest investment in a running back in how many years? A long time, maybe since Shady.
So what does that have to do with?
And what did Shady win here?
Compare their investments to the passing game. What does that mean? Their investments.
I just don't like the idea. Okay, I pay $50 million for a quarterback and $50 million for wide receivers, so that means I have no choice but to pass the ball all over the field every stinking game.
No,
I don't think that's a recipe to win. I'm sorry, I just don't. Especially with Jalen Hurts as your quarterback.
I don't understand the argument. You're bringing up the financial implication of Saquon Barkley, but then you want to ignore it. I'm just using your thought process. Oh, they have to use Saquon Barkley because they're paying him more than they typically pay a running back.
No, I just pointed out.
Then I go the financial aspect of what they invest in the passing game. The financial investment on what they invest in a good offense. Right now, they have an offense that is underachieving.
Because they pass the ball all over the field. That's why they're underachieving.
But they don't pass the ball all over the field.
They do. Yes, they do.
Why
do we have no points in the first quarter? We hurl go routes on first down. We're a passing team. Yesterday, we decided to be a running team. We blew the Giants off the page.
Yeah, yesterday.
What am I missing?
Zander, you do know the Giants suck, right?
Yeah, but Jeff, I don't want to hear
do you think that's going to work against the Baltimore Ravens?
The Giants lead the league in sacks. The Giants are a top 15 defense. The Giants are underrated this year. Daniel Jones is fine. Now we blow them off the page, and everybody wants to tell me how much they suck.
They do suck. I tried telling you.
NFC East opponent. You go in there and you beat the shit out of them. It's a good
because they suck. They're not good.
My prediction of a close game had nothing to do with the Giants being good. It had to do with how the Eagles were playing coming into the game, that they would underachieve and play down to the opponent, which is what they did the prior week.
Yeah, by the way, Cleveland's terrible too. And they're even worse. They're defending Deshaun Watson. Well, the players are anyway.
Yeah, they're all on a Deshaun Watson apology tour now.
Well, boy, man, you are taking a lot out of this game against a really bad opponent.
I think it's positive I don't believe that Jalen Hurts is a quarterback that's built to throw the ball all over the field all day long. I just don't.
Well, then say you don't believe in the quarterback. I get that. I get that.
I have no problem saying that. If you don't believe that he can do what they want him to do, running the ball with Saquon Barkley and a top 5 offensive line is a good strategy. Especially as his first year calling out protections, his first year manning the offense at the line of scrimmage like he didn't do in the past without Jason Kelce.
That's a good strategy. That's a good strategy to win a bad division and make the playoffs, and then say, "All right, tip your cap. Let's get the next year." Which by the way, if that's fine. A lot of teams do that. A lot of teams go in that direction.
Nick Sirianni may keep his job if he does that.
I don't think that's the Eagles' goal. The Eagles' goal is to compete with the Detroits of the world, and whomever else emerges, whether it's Green Bay or if San Francisco can get healthy and figure it out, whomever else.
Do you think the 49ers are going to figure it out? Because I'm starting to think
they're not.
Yeah. And I know they're always better the second half of the season. I think they've lost maybe 4 games.
Well, I mean, I don't know where McCaffrey is, but they got to get him back.
And now Ayuk's out.
Yeah, Ayuk, that looks serious, at least.
By the way, isn't it funny how you take away Brock Purdy's toys and all of a sudden he's not as great anymore?
Shocker.
Yeah, just like everybody else.
It's everybody at this point. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at the lines, and I know Jalen Hurts is not built like Jared Goff, but Jared Goff hasn't had more than 25 pass attempts, I don't think, yet this season.
Because the Lions are always winning.
I know, but my point is, Jeff, that they're a well-rounded offense.
Jeff, that is an excellent point. Well,
I
they're
watch the
always
Lions every
winning.
week. They're
They're
always winning.
always winning, and they're closing out games, which is exactly what I'm
Yeah,
talking.
yeah, and Jared Goff is throwing an average of like 17 pass attempts in the first half. So
What I mean, I tell you when I get the run pass ratio question, you've heard this a million times, Zander. Tell me what the score is in the fourth quarter. I'll tell you what the run pass ratio. The Lions are always ahead, always closing out games.
All right. Well, let me ask both of you a very simple question. Forget being bully ball. Forget doing that. What I'd like to see. Will having a good established run game early in games help Jalen Hurts as a quarterback?
Yeah, an effective run game, of course. You
and
got
I
to be
thought they had an effective run game yesterday. They still didn't score any points, at least early.
Well, yeah, I mean, if it's first and 10 and you run the football and you get 7 yards, you're going to be more effective on second down. On the other hand, if you run the football on a shitty field on the first game of the season and you lose 5 yards, it's going to impact the quarterback as well. Everything impacts the quarterback. But yes, obviously it's common sense. If you run the ball effectively, it's going to help your quarterback. And it's going to make Brock Purdy look like a superstar. Whereas if you're not running the football and you got to put the game in the hands of the quarterback, it's going to be more difficult. And that's why, but that's what you want. You want to be able to win difficult games and put the ball in the hands of the quarterback and go win those games. That's where the Eagles want to go. I'm talking about Eagles expectations here. Maybe you're right into a sense of they should scale back those expectations, Zander. You know, because of the quarterback, if you want to go down that route, I'm not there yet. I still see enough from Jalen Hurts in little flashes, but the consistency's got to get better.
And John, you know I'm a stat guy. I will put out this stat every week until people are tired of it, and I know Eagles fans won't get tired of it. The Eagles are 12-1 when Jalen Hurts does not turn the football. If Jalen Hurts doesn't turn the football, they're going to win.
That's a meaningful stat, Jeff.
It is easy to not turn the football over when you're only throwing it 14 times.
Well, that helps. I mean, look, and I continue to point to the Lions, and I know it's not a perfect example. The Lions have one loss this year. It was to the Buccaneers. Jared Goff threw the ball 55 times.
Because they were trailing.
They were losing.
And they put up 16 points, though, Jeff.
They were trailing all of that game.
Okay, but is that not a perfect example of why just throwing the ball is not the best recipe to win? They scored 16 points with 55 attempts.
Nobody.
Also, it was week 2 of the season.
Nobody. Man, I want to bang my head against the wall. I always talk about margin of error. Playing a certain way increases your margin of error if you can play that way, which the Lions do. It doesn't mean they're going to go.
I don't think the Eagles can play that way.
It doesn't mean they're going to go 17-0. They've already lost a game. So you can't pull out the outlier. Everybody has shitty games. If you can put out, again, I can point out, well, against Cleveland, they averaged under 3 yards per carry. It doesn't mean anything. Cleveland did a better job.
The Packers are a really good football team. They didn't play that great against the Eagles. They've been cruising ever since.
Yeah.
Oh, and Malik Willis played 2 of those games.
Yeah. Green Bay is going to be a
Yeah,
I believe that.
By the way, John, that division is just...
I think the Vikings are going to end up in last place. I don't know. Maybe third place, certainly.
You know what? They could end up in last place and still make the playoffs.
Yeah. Third place, though, I think Detroit's going to win. I think Detroit's the best team in football. Green Bay is going to be second. And then you can go either way with Chicago, Minnesota. Probably comes down to what they do against each other.
You know, I like the steps Chicago is taking. I like the progression Caleb Williams is taking, but the Bears got a gauntlet of a schedule coming up.
Yeah, well, they got to play each other. I mean, you saw that game last night. I mean, Detroit.
Or were they off this week? The Bears.
Who's that? Chicago? Yeah, they were off this week.
They had a bye.
They were one.
I mean, that Detroit could have lost that game after the Montgomery fumble. The Vikings took the lead, right? Yeah,
they took the lead, and I mean, and look, Detroit was trying to run out the clock. And
Yeah.
they were trying to, but great players make great plays and great defenses do what they do. Brian Flores' defense is beaten by the blitz all day long, but they did make a play to get the Vikings back in the game.
Yeah, that was a good game as expected. But everybody's going to have bad games. Nobody's going 17-0.
Not even the Chiefs.
Not even the Chiefs, although they still have a chance.
I mean, that team just finds ways to
John,
win.
what's more impressive to you so far in this season? Okay, scratch. We only have one unbeaten left. We lost our last winless team in week 4.
Yeah, well, that's the whole point. It's a parity-driven league. There isn't that big of a difference between, you put 3 of the Eagles' stars on the Giants, and things would shift dramatically. And we're all looking at the Giants, and they're embarrassing, and the Panthers are embarrassing.
Patriots are embarrassing.
Patriots, but you put 3 players on those teams, the right players, and you can turn around quickly. That's why you don't have this tank in the NFL. And generally, when you do, it's a waste of time.
The Eagles' biggest stretch of the season, by the way, is when they play Dallas on November 10th. And then they got to play Washington that Thursday, November 14th.
Yeah, that Washington game's going to be. I mean, Dallas to me is irrelevant at this point. They're just.
But you still got to go in that. You still got to go in that place where you haven't won since 2017.
Yeah. Well, Dallas is now evidently Dallas can't win at their own place. I think they're over 4.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah,
well, Green Bay broke them. Green Bay broke them.
They were undefeated last year until the playoffs at home, and then they got throttled by Green Bay, and now I think they've given up almost 40 in every single home game. It's unbelievable what happened.
I think the game, and I love the guy, but I think the game has passed Mike Zimmer by.
Yeah. I think he doesn't have the talent either.
He doesn't, but I mean, he's getting absolutely destroyed. Jeff, thanks for joining the show today, man. Any final thoughts on the Birds' 28-3 win over the New York Giants?
I just think this is, and again, Cleveland's win last week, I thought it was going to be the start of this team turning their season around a bit. They did against the Giants. I think they could beat Cincinnati. I think they could beat the Giants, the Jaguars, and all of a sudden this team's looking 6-2, and the outlook probably is a lot different than what it was, say, 2 weeks ago.
Yep, I think that's a fair point. Jeff, thanks for joining today, man. We'll talk to you again next week. All right, brother.
That sounds great. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Thanks, bud.
Great stuff from Jeff Kerr there on Birds 365. Let's get to a couple of our super chats, John. I don't want to leave the people hanging. Appreciate everybody in the chat today. Hit that like button if you're enjoying the show today. Appreciate all of you guys in here. Dirty Air checks in. 2 games in a row, 0 touchdowns given up. Bad opponent or not, that's what you do.
That is good.
And
that's what I'm hanging my hat on, man.
Yeah.
9 quarters, really. Go back to Tampa. So they haven't given up a defensive touchdown in 9 quarters.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, John, these quarterbacks that aren't top of the league, they're like meat for Vic Fangio. He seems to just destroy them.
Well, that's why, sorry, I got a bit of a sore throat, but that's why I'm not a stat guy. I wrote that on Sports. I'm like, he is going to take advantage of the Deshaun Watsons who are playing really poorly and Daniel Joneses of the world, but that doesn't necessarily translate if they ever get to the Goffs of the world who are playing at that level, or the Mahomes, or the quarterbacks. It doesn't necessarily translate, and I think people think it does. But the confidence aspect, can't speak enough about it. They're feeling themselves. They're feeling good about themselves. The exact opposite when they were getting gashed by Baker Mayfield. And everybody's woe is me and this and that. And now they're just flying around. You see Nakobe making plays. He's getting him downhill. Maybe starting to better figure out the strengths of the players. Talked about Quinyon Mitchell. Josh Sweat, I think, has played well all season. Was talking to Josh after the game. He's like, I've been rushing the same. Sacks come in bunches, but everybody's obsessed with sacks.
I think he's been the most consistent edge rusher for sure.
Yeah. And that, even Hupp and Nolan Smith are getting involved. And Jalen Carter talked to him as well. And his take on it was the best take. All right. He said, all right, I got 2 sacks. Great. Who's up next? That's the attitude you want from your best defensive player.
Great stuff from Jalen Carter.
Yeah, I mean, who cares? Are they playing effectively? Yes. And they were all over. What the guy throw for 99 yards? They gave up 119 yards on defense.
Yeah.
Now, part of that is the opponent. You can't give up 119 yards against certain teams. It's just not possible. But that confidence that's breeding in the defense, especially with they're so young. I think it's a real positive. I really do.
Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. Let's keep rolling. Brian Fleming checks in. J-Mac, why do we never run under center play action, which over the last 6 years gains the most yards of any formation and keeps opposing linebackers honest?
Because the quarterback is not comfortable with it.
They did do it. I will say this. They did do a little bit more yesterday, and you laughed at me on the pregame show when I asked you if they would.
Well, because I laughed at them. I just laughed again. I mean, they're in the pistol, they're in the shotgun. And by the way, it's not an insult because they've had a lot of success. The Eagles have had more success with pistol and shotgun than most teams have had under center, any of them. So you can talk about the individual increments like Minnesota popping up this year or somebody else popping, or the first 2 games with New Orleans. By the way, what happened to New Orleans with their play action and Kubiak, Shanahan offense? They don't all work. Sean McVay, his isn't working because of health reasons. Maybe they're starting to get some people back. They don't all work. You only bring up the ones that work.
I just think a sprinkling of it is good. Well,
that's what the Eagles are trying to get to, a sprinkling of it. And that, hopefully it'll get a little bit better. But for those who want them to play the way that those teams play, that's just dumb coaching with the quarterback you have. And we brought up Ben Johnson. If Ben Johnson were to come here and run the offense he runs in Detroit, well, then he's not a good coach, and he made a wrong hire.
I'd be curious to see what he would decide.
That people think he's this offensive genius. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. He's certainly doing well with a very talented group. But if he says, "Oh, if the Eagles hire him and he's just going to pluck the same offense and with those different players," you're not a good coach.
I'd be curious to see what he would do with Jalen Hurts. I really would. Let's keep rolling real quick because we got Chris Franklin coming up. Brian says, wide open receiver, pump fakes, takes a sack. Brian's still upset with the quarterback.
Yeah, there's too much. There's too much of that.
Yeah.
There's too much of that. He's still looking for the big play. Too much.
Yeah, he is. Nosti checks in. Here's my one takeaway. The QB is still incredibly frustrating to watch 65% of the time. You could up that a little bit.
I get that. I get that. Certain. I get it.
Well, that's part of my evaluation on why I want to run the ball. I don't think the quarterback's ready yet to deploy a pass-happy offense.
If he's not ready yet, I mean, we've already. By the way, we've
never going to be if he's not.
We've already seen his ceiling, and his ceiling is plenty good enough. So
that's fair.
I'm not ready to pull the plug on saying he can't get back to.
Well, no, I do think that it would help him to take some off his plate, let him get better at some of the things he's just.
Well, they did. I mean, people forget they did that. They already did that in 2021. You're supposed to evolve.
Yeah, I get that. He's still a really young quarterback, though, man. Like Tom Brady at 33 compared to when he was at 26, his ability to read a defense and get into the right play, like Tom talks about, is so important. I think giving Jalen some time to learn those things and get better at them.
If you're scaling back at this point instead of trying to expand,
yeah, I guess that's
you might as well start the countdown. Which I say, Nick Sirianni's on the clock now. Jalen Hurts is about 12 months behind, 16 months behind, whatever. You might as well start the clock now. If you're scaling back at this point, if your assumption, and I'm not saying you're necessarily wrong, But if your assumption is, and that's what you want to do, and you want to scale back because the quarterback is not capable of evolving, you might as well start thinking about the next step now. Start thinking long term.
That's fair. Caleb checks in. Saying we can't win like this is wild. Why do we feel like we have to air it out when all the best teams have an amazing run game?
What? All the best teams. All the best teams every year do everything well.
I know, but John, here's the one thing I hate about the Eagles. Like, if you had like Joe Burrow, like, okay, yeah, you can sit here and tell me they're not ever going to want to run the ball. Like, they're going to just pass. We don't. We have Jalen Hurts. His specialty is not throwing the football. It never has been. Since he's been a quarterback, it never has been what he excelled at a high level. Is he competent? Yes. Should we just create an offense that just airs it out with him, particularly at quarterback?
Who says why is it I got to run the ball 1,000 times and throw it 14 times, or I got to run it 50 times and run it 10 times? They're trying to build a good offense. What was their offense in 2022 when they had the best offense in football? And they were the best team in football, even though they came up a little bit short, and really expanded out from the end of 2021 to the 10-1 start in 2023, the best stretch of Eagles football. What was the offense?
RPO. There's still a lot of running in that, but I hear what you're saying. I mean,
and this nonsense of all the good teams every year do everything well. All the good offensive teams. The greatest show on turf, Rams, that I always bring up, everybody will bring up the passing game. Guess what? They had Marshall freaking Faulk. They could run it anytime they wanted to. All the good teams. What does that mean? Why don't you bring up New Orleans, who everybody's crowning after 2 weeks with their great play action, running the football? And then it was the Eagles and Vic Fangio, to their credit, who shut that freaking down pretty freaking easily. You know why? Because they wanted to. And they said, you know what? We're having some trouble stopping the run. I'm going to put 6 freaking guys up front and stop the goddamn run. And guess what? They stopped the run because they wanted to. And they were able to persevere enough. I don't care if it's Adrian Peterson. I don't care if it's Derrick Henry. I don't care if it's Saquon Barkley. I don't care if it's Chris Franklin. You can stop the freaking run if you want to stop the run.
Let's get to a commercial break. Chris Franklin in the green room. He's feeling the slight from John McMullen there. We'll get to a commercial break. We'll get Chris up here next, and we'll talk to him about the Eagles' 28-3 win over the New York Football Giants. Appreciate everybody in the chat. We will get to all super chats before the end of the show. Appreciate all of you guys for checking in this morning. Before I get to our break, let me tell you about the great people at BetUS. Check out that promo code on your screen at YouTube 150. That gives you 150% sign-up bonus on your very first deposit and 125% on your second and third deposits up to $2,000. So deposit less and bet with more at BetUS. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Birds 365. Back in 3 minutes, everybody.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
He's blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
Score and save at Southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, the second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs, and then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Victory Monday, an overreaction Victory Monday here on Birds 365. Eagles win yesterday 28-3, moved to 4-2 on the season. Joined now by Chris Franklin of NJ.com. Chris, welcome to the show, man. How you doing on this Monday morning?
My feelings are hurt. I feel like
What do you mean? I put you in the category with Saquon and Adrian Peterson and Derrick Henry. How could
Hey,
your
listen,
feelings be hurt?
my Madden character version of me is way better than them. You're right.
Oh,
You
all
don't get that.
I get it. I get it.
You got the creative player on
strong
99,
company.
Chris.
Yeah.
At 99 and everything else. Now the real Chris, got the way my left leg and my right leg are set up can be nowhere near any of them, so it's gonna be a little far away from that.
99 Madden rating. All right, Chris Franklin.
Yeah.
I like it.
Cheating, yes, always great.
Hey,
Bill Belichick way.
I think Bobby the Brain Heenan once said, if win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat.
Great pull, very very great. Bravo, great pull. You ain't trying if you ain't cheating. Look at Bill Belichick. Yeah.
Sure. NASCAR rules apply. If you ain't
Yeah.
cheating, you ain't trying.
So true.
All right.
Chris, what are the takeaways from yesterday, man? Anything positive, or did you just beat up on the Giants and there's nothing to take? I'm sitting here and I'm wondering, Chris, is bully ball back? John's telling me I'm batshit crazy and he wants to bang his head against the wall. Where are you, Chris, from the win yesterday? What'd you take away from the Eagles win over the Giants?
I think the one thing I saw that I was really impressed about, I'm glad that we saw a little bit more, is I know we've seen him under center, and I know we've seen the pistol before, but I feel like we see a little bit more usage of it at the right time in terms of down and usage. And I thought that really was key for this offense, because when you are under center and you're in pistol, you keep the defense guessing so much, because sometimes when you're in the shotgun, okay, it's either zone or it's either like a sweep one of the ways or it's pass. You can't do that. I think you just mix it up. So I was impressed with the usage of that. Saquon Barkley says, as much as it's like we hear like, it's not another game, it's not another game. I know whoever that fan was or fans decided to burn that jersey
Burn
right
the jersey.
he got
Yeah,
injured for it.
not a smart decision. Not a
Not
smart
at all.
decision.
Not at all.
Yeah, even that first catch he got, which was third down, I think it was like 3rd and 14.
Yeah, he's knocking people
He
over.
just destroyed that dude, and then went and sat on the bench. I'm like, oh, Saquon's fired up today.
That was a raw time. And then Fred Johnson. I mean, offensively, Fred Johnson, the way that he get the sack, but going against Brian Burns, an all-pro level type guy, you ain't hearing much about him. So I'm like, I look at that and defensively, just stack upon stack upon stack upon stack upon stack upon stack upon stack. Yeah, I overall thought for them they needed a game like this just to help the psyche.
Dare we give credit to the coaches, because they know
Exactly.
Brett Johnson isn't exactly Jordan Mailata in pass protection. So, should we give them credit? I give the score credit Chris. They're winning. They know the other team is inept. So that's why I don't translate it that much, because in a normal game, and God forbid if you're playing a good team, there's going to be some threat of scoring on the other side. This was a luxury of, all right, let's just run the football on the shitty turf and get the hell out of here. That's how I kind of look at it.
Yeah, and I think this week was a way of kind of a circle the wagon week, and this is how I think the team hasn't given up on Sirianni just yet, because we all know what happened. We all saw what happened afterwards, and the way they came out focused, the way they came out in practice, and everything else. If they lost him, if they saw what he was doing, going, all right, I don't want to play a clip like this for it. We probably would have saw 13-10, which kind of had me scared early on, like, oh, what's going on with this game here in the first quarter? But no, they came out and they did that as well too. So I thought that was impressive as well, the way they did that. So yeah, and the way that Vic and Kellen utilized their play calling, even if it's the Giants. We've seen Giants beat people this year, the way they utilize it. Yeah, it was a good game by everybody on that staff.
Yeah. But defensively, I think it's really valuable. Not because of the sacks, but just because they have a very young defense, and all of a sudden they're having success, and they haven't given up a defensive touchdown in 2 games now, 9 quarters. I hear Jalen Carter talking about, all right, I got 2 sacks. Who's next? I like that mentality. Quinyon Mitchell just been great from day one. He keeps getting better and better. The Kobe Dean, they're starting to figure out, hey, maybe he struggles in space, but he can go downhill. Looks pretty good. Starting to figure out the talent they do have. Sidney Brown's back. He gets some action with the backups. 9 snaps. Getting those guys confidence, I think, is really important on the defensive side.
We were talking yesterday, talking to Kobe, like, I didn't know this or anything. Apparently, during the week leading up to the Browns practice, there was some sort of incident or whatever, between them, and then the defense from that moment on, and Kobe said this, like, they galvanized. They got together. They started to learn how to trust the coaches more. They started really playing well. And now you're looking at this thing. It correlates directly with that streak that they have in the 9 quarters. And the fact that I thought it was interesting. Like, that's the second person I heard trust in terms of that. I heard Jalen Carter previous week. I don't know what was going on in the fact that they just didn't know, like, hey, if you're rushing the gap or you're doing the stunt, I didn't know if you're going to be there. I don't know what happened specifically, but the fact that you're able to go ahead and do this and play as well as you can, the main thing, we knew the secondary is going to be good, or decent at least, in the way they're playing right now for it. And we've heard so many times about that complementary football. You just need the pass rush to get there. Now all of a sudden you got that secondary. You got Mitchell, Slay, and Eugene has been playing still well, played well again yesterday. You got all 3 of them with that pass rush. Now all of a sudden you look at his defense, you're going, you got something here. You got something. Bryce Huff, he's improving. He looks better, especially doing that 4-point stand. So you got something defensively. You see here. You just hope that Vangio continues to push the right buttons and continues to do that blitz here and there. So it's a good job by them. And you got a lot. And you look at the Bengals coming up. Yeah, they got Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. That offense is stout, but it's enough where you got enough confidence to say, okay, they can at least hang in there.
Yeah, I'm curious to see this game this week because, I said to John, Vic Fangio is making food out of these lesser quarterbacks in the league. I mean, he just has everything dialed up correctly. Now you got Joe Burrow coming in. How does Vic scheme it up versus Joe? It'll be interesting to see that. Chris, I want to ask you about the Eagles offense and what they did yesterday. Is there, we've been talking about in this city, the identity. I think even within the team, they've talked about forging an identity. Is there anything from yesterday's game offensively that you think you can take and apply to the rest of the season and use as somewhat of an identity moving forward?
Balance is power. I think that's the biggest thing. When you look at the run game, they established the run early. They beat them up middle, and they beat them up in the middle there. I think Dexter Lawrence was banged up. He was tired because as much as the run, it didn't work a lot early on. We weren't getting like 15 like we saw early, in the fourth quarter. But I think the consistency using the run early, set up those passes, those fade routes and everything else. You don't have to run it 25, 30, 35 times. That's not this offense, especially with the outside weapons you have in AJ and Smith. But the fact you use it and the balance it and you keep teams going off kilter, I think that was important. And the fact they looked physical. I think the offensive line, instead of having to pass it like 45 times and taking the heat of the pass rush over and over again, they went after that offensive line yesterday looked aggressive. They went after the Giants' defensive line. They went after and attacked them. And in turn, we know how well the Giants rushed the passer. I think that took the wind out of their sails a little bit, and they were on air a little bit. So I think that's what you guys do. This balanced continue to be a balanced offense, and you're going to do well. I think this team, they continue balanced. They'll finish in the top 10. They'll finish in the top 5. I think, as long as they continue to keep going down that road.
Well,
and
they
use
better.
the game center that.
They
Oh yeah,
better.
all those weapons names they better.
Yeah.
they should. But
And you know the key to it all, Chris Franklin? I got to give a hat tip to Ben Van Sumeren. The Eagles have a fullback. The Eagles have a fullback, and he's a linebacker. Did you see the 2 blocks that were essentially back-to-back from Ben Van Sumeren? He was only out there for 5 snaps, but I mean, the lead block on Saquon's 41-yard run, and then there was a lead block on a big run by Kenny Gainwell. The Eagles, I'm being facetious a little bit, but the Eagles haven't had that kind of presence, that extra blocker. They haven't had a fullback since I don't know when. You got to go.
Kevin
I don't
Weaver,
know.
maybe?
It's not since I've been here,
Mhm.
which is, from the Doug Peterson era. I mean, he was bulldozing people. And I think the more it works, the more they're going to use it.
The fact that they ran ISO, like a fullback, they ran an ISO play in the middle with I know he played fullback in high school. But
Yeah,
the
he
fact
was
you
a
ran
fullback.
that one too.
Should have mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah, but the fact you ran ISO with this team and you broke it off, I'm like, what is going on here? Yeah, it's good. And Kellen Moore said, I remember back in training camp, Kellen Moore said he would be adverse to using a fullback before. He's done it beforehand. I was thinking more like when he used the Cowboys. He had like an offensive, he had a backup
Like a
guard
tight
playing
end,
that
like
too.
Jack Stoll back there.
Yeah,
But Ben's just breaking people.
It's kind of funny now when looking back at him in training camp, they had him running routes and stuff like that. I'm like,
Oh, it was
like a tryout?
unbelievable, the route. The route he ran against Andre Sam. It just ignited the whole freaking team, and Kenny Pickett missed the pass.
Yeah. Yeah, no comment. Anyway, I remember I was looking at and I was looking at like, okay, and the fact that you're using them back there, it just adds it adds something that all defensive coordinators have to think about. I thought they were going to try to get him a run, at least one rush yesterday. I was like, they're going to do it, aren't they? They didn't, so I'm cool with that. But
They'll
that
probably
one I
pull it
wrote.
out at some point. Yeah.
But it's good that you can
Johnson
do that.
would.
Especially,
Yeah.
yeah, especially instead of having to run tush push all the time with straight yardage or that, it gives you another look that teams have to think about. They see it, right? You see him on the field, you're like, he's always eligible. What are they doing here? Oh, it's for a run. No, it's like you can run so much stuff off of that. You can run play action off of that. You can some of the wham. You can run. There's so much stuff you can do, and I like the idea of using it. Just you don't have to use it every play. Just 3-4 plays a game, and you just really it throws teams off. Everything's cyclical in this year in this league. It seems like run games back up in there. You got fullbacks coming back. Hey, who knows? Single wings coming pretty soon. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see, man.
We get that Navy Georgia Tech philosophy.
Top 25 Navy. So,
yeah. So is Army. Isn't Army?
Army and Navy. It could be
yeah.
They could be back-to-back games.
Oh, it's in MetLife too this year. I just saw the
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, Army, Navy. Yeah, it's always fun when they're both good, which is not too often. So good for them. Yeah, I getting back to the offense, because I do think I don't want to get AJ in trouble, but I hope people listen to this when I bring this up, because he said it laughingly, and he was asked at the very end of his locker room session And it was my buddy Ed Kratz who asked the question. He said, they're talking about how great the offense was, and Ed said, that said, only 14 pass attempts. And AJ said, and he was smiling the whole time. And so don't get upset at him. And he's the only one who caught the football. He actually had a good game. He said, it's a good and bad thing. We're happy the guys ran the ball, but we want the ball too. Laughs again. I emphasize that. Even I wrote it. He laughs. I wish there was a few more attempts, but it happens. You're on to the next game. You take it, so it's all good. You can't do this every game with the receiver. I'm amazed by people that think that's possible in the world we live in. Devontae Smith had 1 catch for -2 yards. That's not going to fly. You can pretend it's going to fly, and you could say in your little cocoon world, oh, they should be team players. It shouldn't matter. Guess what? It matters.
Yeah.
So you can be real about it or not be real about it. Agree or disagree?
I think first off, I think more like I think he was having flashbacks to Tennessee a lot of those times. He's like, "Oh no, Derek."
Yeah.
But even with him too, I look at him. I think if I don't have if I don't have a guy like who I'm paying that much money for, the outside receiver, and his caliber, I had Devontae Smith. They're saying, "Nah, I'm good with just blocking all the time." And then I'm thinking like, "All right, let's put Johnny Wilson back more in the field and not have them." I expect them to want the ball that much to it, and that's I'm cool with anything like that for it. Now, if it persists to like say 3 games, like why aren't we throwing the ball? Why aren't we throwing the ball? There must have been a major philosophical shift that happened. So I'm not worried. I'm not concerned about it. I don't think it's anything too much for me anyway. At least I'm like, oh great, here we go. Like the fact that I don't think I think yesterday was an anomaly of sorts. As much as I love to see the run that ball, I think it was more of an anomaly with especially the way this organization likes to throw the ball as much as they like to that way too. So I don't think
No, don't get me wrong. It's going to take care of itself. It's not going to continue. But I'm just saying, for the people who think it can continue, I think that is unrealistic, to put it mildly.
You'd have a better shot, like we were talking Army, you'd have a better shot seeing a triple option offense in here before you see some like I'd be safe to say this. I put 2 years of checks versus if this offense all of a sudden turned off to the triple option offers or a run. I mean, a heavy run centric thing where you're throwing 14 times a year, sometimes a game. I don't think that's going to happen or anything else like that for it. And a lot of those things were just pushes.
Where's the balance? You brought up that word earlier. I thought that was a good word, balance. Yeah. Where is the balance then? I think you're right. 14 is going to be too low. You're going to piss some people off at 14. But where is the balance? Because I'm calling for more of a presence in the run game. I've been dismissed as a little bit goofy this morning. I think there's got to be more balance. I like to see more run game, Chris.
It's a trickle down effect. I don't think it's a trickle down effect. They get out. It starts all stuff getting out the huddle in time and make sure you get the play clock and not waiting until it gets down to 1 to run that. So you get run more plays. Yeah, that helps a big time. So you can run it. You can throw it 28 times and run it 28 times. You can run it if someone's really throwing. If it's a really tough defense, if you get something like 70 plays or what have you, and you run that 35 and 35, you're looking like, oh wow, you did throw the ball a lot and. Oh, you ran the ball a lot. Yeah, and that means your defense is doing really well too if you get 70 plays. So I think they would like that, see that type of balance as well too. So you can still do both. You don't have to be like extreme, like, oh, you have to have 25 runs and maybe 18 passes.
I mean, if you look at so the fourth quarter, obviously the game's over by that point. But this is amazing to me that people don't understand. So here's the Eagles' fourth quarter possessions. Kenny Gainwell, left guard for 2 yards. Kenny Gainwell up the middle for no gain. Third down, you had a pass. Then they get it back. Remember, they got the big lead. They're just trying to run out the game. Will Shipley. Then Will Shipley. There was one pass in the entire fourth quarter. That's I don't know about you, Chris, but when people ask me the run pass ratio question, I say the same thing. Who's leading in the fourth quarter?
That's true.
That's you got 12, 13 runs versus one pass. Obviously, if you're losing, it's going to be completely different. If you're trying to come back in the game, it's going to be all passes for the most part, with the occasional run mixed in. Why is that so hard to understand? Am I crazy? Am I on an island here?
No, I see what you're doing in terms of that too. Yeah, especially a game like yesterday, you just try to salt it away and keep everybody healthy, especially on that turf up there. Like,
Yeah.
we're running the ball. If we can take knees, we can. No, but we're worried about the integrity of the game and just run it that way. But no, you're right. Like in certain games, yeah, you're like if they're behind, like they were against, so what have you, and you get throw a ball. Like you mentioned, you throw it out there. So I'll take that. It's a matter of, to me, when you look at your first and second downs in the game, early in the game, especially the first half, second half, you get it, or the early third
Yeah,
quarter. I
that's
think
what
that's where you got to do that.
matters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what in terms of that.
You can scratch out the whole fourth quarter essentially. And really you can scratch out probably when it was 21-3. But what are you doing early in the game? And early in the game, the Eagles are not effective. It's the weirdest thing ever. Like, how are they 4-2? This is the most impressive part of the Eagles' start. They're the only team, obviously, in the NFL who hasn't scored in the first quarter, and somehow they're 4-2.
Yeah, I don't know if at home games at the link, if you just have to change the goal quarter thing to 2 when they first go out and they go, oh, okay, yeah, we're ready to go, and just bam, 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 bam. But yeah, I mean, you try script's not, man. It's just a jump start. Maybe it's just getting everybody in a rhythm. Maybe you go tempo to start the game. I know you're throwing your defense out there on a limb early because you're getting up more snaps early, but maybe the offense seems to run a little bit more effectively when they run tempo, and they just seem like there's a sense of urgency. You got to complete the first pass, which is important in that aspect if you're going to run that. But I've tried looking at different things. I've tried like reading what other coaches have done in the past. I tried looking it up. Like at this point, I'm just like, I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't think they know.
It's it's crazy. You're looking like, okay, they tried. We've seen times where they tried to go the explosive play, try the long passes. That hasn't worked. We've seen the run game. That hasn't worked. I wish I knew. Like, I know I'm supposed to be on here like being an analyst and everything else. Like, I don't even know. Like, I don't know.
I think the obvious. Well, Kellen Moore, clean operation, man, talks about it all the time. First play of the season, first offensive play of the season. I always bring it up. Saquon Barkley slipped on a shitty field. That's not really anybody's fault, but all of a sudden, first and 10 turns into second and 15. All right, there goes that drive. You know, obviously you should be able to persevere a little bit better. Then the one good drive they got a first down to Grant Calcaterra. Then they had a quick, like 8-yard bubble screen to Britton Covey. But Cam Jurgens was wandering downfield. So that gets pushed back. 2 turns into first and 15. And you're behind the sticks again. And then yesterday they had 1 first down. And then Jalen Hurts takes the coverage sack. Yeah, I don't. But Kellen Moore's a good offensive coordinator. He's got a long history of scripting. Like, everybody's obsessed with the script. If you don't execute, the script doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, you could put what's the name? Put Sean McVay out like Arkansas Pine Bluff, or put him in some other college. If you guys don't have the players to do it, you can't do it. So I'm sorry. As much as
Arkansas Pine Bluff catching strays, by the way.
Hey, I remember that. I saw him a couple weeks ago making jerseys strays. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but
I love the pull. I love the Arkansas Pine.
But it's one of the things I'm wondering. Like, and maybe Nick has something into it. And I remember he mentioned it in a press conference last week about he didn't want to get into their heads. I think it was already in their heads to begin with.
Oh, it's in there.
And the fact is trying to do it, like I didn't want they didn't want saying you didn't want I don't want to focus on something. I think it was in their heads before, and probably in week 3, week 4, and they'd have their issues. So maybe it's like maybe I don't know if you have to just immerse them in saying, you know what, in offensive meetings, just show them successful first down plays from their past and just rolling it, and it's like this is us. I don't know if you need to get like a mentalist, and they're going, hey, listen, you guys can do this. You guys are able to get out there early, but something has to be done. And I don't
Maybe
know.
that's not a bad idea. Maybe Nick Sirianni's watching. He'll wake up at 4 in the morning, and that'll be his thought.
Yeah. You
Show
need to
successful early down plays. That could be the messaging this week.
Yeah, you hope it lasts fourth quarter because this team
Got to
is
go
going to
back
be a
to
shootout.
20. Got to go back to 23, obviously 2022, probably. Yeah, it's strange. It is strange, but they have to fix that. They can't keep playing this way. Yesterday it didn't matter because it was punt, 6 punts if that were 6. It was. I thought we were watching the worst football game in the history of the world. Punt.
It's and I think that's one of the things where you look at that. I don't know how Dable survives. I don't know how because he's obviously good. Even if they draft a quarterback, I don't think he's going to be there to try to develop him because they've given him some. They've given some outside talent around there, and he's got some say in that organization. Yeah, I don't know how you do it. I don't think Belichick's going there. I don't think Ben Johnson's going there. Like you're just like, okay, you got Malik Neighbors. Okay, good. Devin Singletary and Tracy nah, that's not gonna that doesn't get me go. You know, I'm gonna go there. Now they gotta do it in the New York media market. Giants might be in trouble for a few years. Like
they've been in trouble for a few years, and luckily for Eagles fans, because Washington seems to be turning it around. The Giants seem to be going down the drain again. So, yeah, I don't know how Joe Shane survives that. 187 yards for Saquon Barkley, 119 for the New York Giants. That's his worst nightmare. That's the one thing that couldn't happen. Like, you could lose the game. You know, everybody expects the Eagles to win. You couldn't lose it by letting Saquon run wild. And I don't think that band burning his jersey helped Joe Shane anyway. Maybe he's trying to get Joe Shane fired.
I wish they had a hard knocks like camera in the box yesterday in the corner.
Oh, that'd be great.
And they superimposed how to do the overlays where they show a picture like they have their motions.
Yeah.
But what he was thinking after Saquon finished, like had that long run toward the third quarter, and what he was doing in that office, like I don't want to lose him, and to see the head shake and superimpose them next to each other, see what would happen. I wish they had a camera angle and I wish they had another camera specifically on Joe Shane throughout that whole entire game. Because there is no way he had to feel comfortable or not. If I'm him, I'm starting to look at my phone. I'm starting to look at, oh, this place is nice to live at, or this place is nice to live at, or I could be assistant GM here or what have you. Because there's no way you can survive that.
New York football, the Jets and the Giants. Thank God for the Yankees and Mets for New York. Could you imagine if the Yankees weren't in the World Series? What this day would be on New York sports radio. You guys at NJ.com, your buddies, you have to deal with that somewhat.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm in South Jersey. This is South Jersey side of things. It's bad enough the Yankees are in there. Yeah, nah, I couldn't. Nah,
I think the Yankees are going to win it. I think the Yankees are going to.
That's a good matchup. I could see either team winning it. But,
yeah, Dodgers, man, they're scoring a lot of runs right now.
And the Phillies matched up with the Dodgers. That's the worst part about it. The Phillies matched up. I thought they would have matched up with. And this should be a day where we're celebrating an Eagles win and also seeing the Phillies going to the NLC to the World Series. But power out.
Yankees Dodgers. That's a pretty good matchup for baseball.
Yeah,
although I don't know if anybody watches baseball anymore. But
I do. I've been
back in the days of Reggie Jackson and Steve Garvey and Ron Say. I'm old, so that's when the Yankees Dodgers were in the World Series battling. So that's a good matchup. But New York Giants got some issues. Eagles are heading in the right direction. Chris Franklin always takes us in the right direction. At Steve Franklin News, NJ.com. Make sure you read them. Bob Brookover, our buddy there as well, Caden Steele. All a great trio and always appreciated, Chris, on this overreaction victory Monday.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. It's always fun being on here. It's fun always the directions it takes is and just talking to you guys and having everybody else who's watching on here. I thank you all very much. Thanks for having me. It's always great.
Thanks,
Chris,
bud.
great stuff, man. Great stuff from Chris Franklin there on Birds 365. John, we're running out of time. Looks like we might be going a little over. I got one thing to bring up with you more on this thing because the more I'm thinking about this, like the beginning game plan when they scored 0 points in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Isn't that a showing of what the Eagles organization wants to be?
It's a showing of what Kellen Moore wants to run at the beginning of that particular game.
Okay. Well, it's not working.
Well, no, but again, I brought it up pretty consistently. They've been behind the sticks every single time, except this week. This was the only week.
Yeah, but is that not a quint? Like, is that? I get that
No,
they're
because again, is slipping on Kellen Moore on a bad
No,
field.
I'm not saying that. I mean, that's
Well,
what.
I mean, is Cam Jurgens going illegally downfield, wandering away? Is that on Kellen Moore?
No,
I
that's
mean, you could
probably-
argue from a teaching aspect, but does anyone want to criticize Jeff Stoutland as a teacher? I mean, sometimes it's the player's fault. Again, I know people don't like that, but
No, I'm open to that. I just wonder. I just think, I don't know. I think this team should stick to it a little bit. I understand what you're saying. They're not going to throw the ball 14 times a game. I get that, but where's that happy medium? Where's the balance that Chris Franklin brought up? I thought it was a good point, and I'd like to see him find it a little bit more.
So, well, yeah. I mean, I when that one commenter brought up the good teams aspect, good teams are good teams. Good teams are good. The
Yeah,
best
I get what you're saying
offenses
with
are
that. I
always
mean-
the best offenses. I mean, that's the first game I brought up, that was Green Bay and Atlanta. New Orleans, they were running the football and lost 3 yards on first down, and they're behind the sticks. That's 3 games. Then the fourth game, I'm pulling these up really quickly because I know we're going to go overtime. The Buccaneers game, let's see, what was the issue there? I don't know it off the top of my head. It was that was the game where Jalen Hurts came out and everybody thought Barkley was wide open and he missed him on the extended play, off the schedule play. Then they ran it on second down to Saquon, no gain. And then they had a short pass to Dallas Goedert on 3rd and 10 that got 7 yards, but they were penalized for a false start on 4th down. So that was as close as they got to a clean operation. So it's been a disaster, but it's mainly been lack of execution, penalties, setting the back. Now, that's the first drive because everybody's obsessed with the scripting. The first quarter, that's a bigger problem. And some of that is not contextual because a couple times, they finally start moving the ball, but they don't score, and then they score in the second quarter early on. So who cares really about
yesterday
that?
they put up 28 in 2.5 quarters. I mean, they didn't even play in the fourth quarter.
So they've been able to. It's pretty impressive that they're 4-2 with these shitty starts, though. They got to fix that. They got to fix that.
Got to. I mean, 25% of the game you're talking about where you're inept on offense. Eventually, you play good teams. That's going to catch up to you in the playoffs. Alexander Harris checks in with a super chat. We'll roll through a couple of these, John, and then get out of here. Alexander says, I don't give a damn how they win. Just win. Run, pass, double dribble, whatever. Just win. I like it, Alexander. I'll take that. James Carver checks in. The Lions were down 10-0 yesterday, and they ran the ball to get back in the game. Running all frees up pass and always has, regardless of effectiveness. I'm with James Carver on this.
I mean,
Jeff was wrong about that. The Lions did not abandon the run yesterday when they were down 10-0. They
Well,
did not.
they got a 45-yard touchdown from Gibbs. I know that. I wasn't watching the game. I'm going to watch that game today. So
Yeah, I watched the. I didn't watch the full thing.
Oh,
I
you're
watched
not watching the Eagles Giants? I
No,
don't
no, I
blame
watched it
you.
last night. I got the NFL Plus.
I
So
would have preferred to watch Minnesota Detroit. So
No,
I'll do better.
I was watching the Eagles trounce the Giants. I
Yeah. Well, I'm being honest. It was a better game, better teams.
Oh, way better game. Yeah, it was a hell of a game.
But you know, all I'm trying to say is now pick out. You're pointing the best offense in football. They do everything well. Everything. The Detroit Lions. They could throw it to the receivers. They could throw it to their tight end, Sam Laporta. They have arguably the only offensive line better than the Eagles' offensive line. Certainly, you can make an argument. They're certainly top 5. They might be the best. They got 2 running backs who can run the football. They got the most accurate quarterback in the NFL, and they might have the most unique play caller in the NFL. Not might. I mean, nobody else is running tackle eligibles to win games.
Yeah.
On the first third down, I do know that they were trying to run a fake punt, which involves Dave Phipp, our old friend as well. They're a very unique team. So now go point out what's going on with the New Orleans Saints who play the same type of offense ever since Vic Fangio shut their asses down. Why are you only focusing on the best offense in football? Okay, go be like Detroit.
Well, don't you think, because I think that's a fair point, but don't you think the Eagles have more similarities to Detroit than they do to the Saints?
No.
Really? With a big beastie O-line, you got a lot of weapons, you got a good running game.
I don't think they have similarities with either team. And by the way, New Orleans' trouble started with their offensive line. They have a good offensive line as well.
Yeah,
but they play the same offenses for the most part. Again, Detroit's way more unique than everybody else. But they play, obviously, a lot of traditional play action with Jared Goff because of his strength as a quarterback.
That's his strength as a quarterback.
Yeah. New Orleans plays a similar style, but they don't do it as effectively because they're not as good.
Yeah. Well, John, what's Jalen Hurts' strength?
His strength is RPO, RPR, +1 in the running game. Tremendous.
And do you believe the offense that they are running or trying to run, or you tell me that they want to run, is conducive to success with that type of quarterback?
They had more success than any of these fucking teams you're talking about.
They don't run the 22 offense anymore. It doesn't look like that anymore.
They have more. It doesn't look that way. First of all, no offense to anybody. No offense to you. No offense to anybody out there. You don't know what the hell they're running, how close it is. I know that because I don't know.
Well, I just know from what I'm looking at.
This is a Nick Sirianni because you're talking about effectiveness. You're talking about play results. That's it. They're not as effective.
Jalen Hurts lined up in the RPO majority of the time in 22, and he always
they run far less RPOs than they used to, far less RPRs than they used to at the height of their success because people adjusted. Now, this I have talked about with the coaches because people adjusted and they're trying to adjust back. They're in the middle of that process to sort of evolve this process. My only point is that all these offenses that you bring up, including Detroit, haven't had the stretch of success the Eagles have had with their offense. Now, do they need to readjust? Yes, because people have caught up to it. The same thing will eventually happen to Detroit, whether it happens due to attrition, like it happened in New Orleans, or some other reason. They will eventually get, whether they lose Ben Johnson, whatever. Could be 100 different things. It will eventually happen. And my guess is their stretch will not be as long as the Eagles stretch. That's just a guess. Because right now they're clicking on all cylinders. But anybody who points, it's like somebody in Detroit when they were 0-7, back in Dan Campbell's first season and pointing to the Eagles and saying, play like that. And that's a more extreme example because Detroit was really bad at the time and the Eagles were really good. And the Eagles are good and the Lions are really good. but it's similar. Like you don't just point to the best team and do that. There's a lot of reasons why Detroit is successful. Running the football is one of them. They also have the accurate quarterback. They also have the receivers. They also have the tight end. They also have the offensive line. They also have the unique, innovative play caller. And you're focused on one thing? Come on.
Well, I mean, look, I get what you're saying, and it's well taken. But I will say this. Eagles have the tight end. Eagles have the wide receivers. Eagles have the running back. Eagles have the offensive line. We think the Eagles have the quarterback. Maybe they don't. And maybe they don't have the play caller, which we were also sold that we thought he was going to be the great play caller, which he doesn't seem to at least be early in the year when you compare him to a guy like Ben Johnson. But, that's why I said I think there's more similarities with us to the Lions than we're thinking. I know Jalen Hurts is not Jared Goff, but we have a great O-line, a dominant O-line.
You're comparing talent. You're not comparing scheme. They don't play similar offenses.
No, I know they don't.
Like
I'm arguing they should play more similar.
Well, it seems like everybody is. Play like the Lions. Everybody, believe me. There's 31 teams out there trying to play like the Lions.
I know, but don't you believe that the Eagles are more equipped than a lot of those 31
they
other
have
teams?
more talent, yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They have more talent, but they can't play like the Lions because the quarterback has a different skill set. Now, if everybody likes that skill set, and remember, Jared Goff had a lot of difficult times in his career that you would all shit on him. And now that he's flying high and he's 19 or whatever the hell he starts, everybody, well, go play like Jared Goff. Well, go through all the growing pains of Jared Goff. Go getting blown out of Los Angeles. People saying he's the worst quarterback in football when they start 0-7 or 0-8 or whatever they are. And they're looking, and all of a sudden it clicks. And now, hey, go play like Jared Goff. I mean, what does that even mean? Play like Detroit. Go back to the last 30 number one offenses. Go play like them. Go play like the Eagles in 22. Go play like the Kurt Warner Rams. Go play like the Joe Montana 49ers. Go play like the Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill Chiefs. Go play like them. I got to cover the Chris Carter, Randy Moss, Robert Smith Vikings. Go play like them.
Oof, that had to be a fun team to cover.
I mean, it's mind-numbing to me. It ain't that easy.
I think there's got to be some. I think there's got to be some medium here, though. I really do. I'm sorry. I just
got to be a medium to play like an historic offense. I said from day one, this will be a top 5 offense. I firmly believe that. They're probably top 5 now. I don't know. I haven't looked.
Yeah,
not that it matters,
especially after that day.
But I said if you want to compare them to the greatest offenses of all time, you're over your skis. I mean, historic offenses are historic for a reason, and they don't come around just because you say do this, do that. And if you want to get to that level, you got to have a quarterback playing at a high level. That's number one. So if you don't believe in the quarterback or you want to scale back on the quarterback, having a historic offense is out the window. Don't even talk about that. If that's your default setting, then you start to go in a different base. Then you start just to maximize what you have. Again, go win the division, go win a playoff game. But
how do we explain the deficiencies of the offense, though, when they try and run it the other way? The quarterback?
What do you mean when you try to run it the other way?
When you don't rely on the run like they did yesterday.
Well, if you believe the quarterback is the issue, then I'm
asking you what you believe would be the issue. Or do you believe that they fully have lived up to the expectation that they should?
Lived up to the outside expectations? No.
Whatever you define as the expectation for a team that's $175 million on offense.
They're a good offense. Again, I don't care about everybody else's expectations or about the money.
That's why I'm asking you what yours is.
The money doesn't matter to me a little bit. I never
Well, I
thought
think
they
it
had
matters to Jeffrey Lurie. There's a reason he spends all that money on offense,
his
John.
problem. That's not my problem. My only point is, did I think that they were going to have an historic offense? No, because I don't think the quarterback is a superstar, but I think the quarterback is very good. And I think the Eagles can get to a high level offense and be top 5 offense in the NFL and be good enough to win and be good enough to be a Super Bowl contender. If everything clicks and everything evolves to the point, like people learned last year, 10-1 doesn't matter. If you're 7-3 or even 6-4, but then you start to get hot and play your best football and you start clicking and figuring it out down the stretch, and then you can do some things and go far. I think that was my thought process with this team, and we're still too early in the process. Right now, they don't look like a legitimate Super Bowl contender to me. But the defense is getting better. That's a positive. I still think there's plenty of time for the offense to figure it out.
Yeah.
But
They're definitely
if you're where you are and you want to scale back on the quarterback, I don't think you win Super Bowls that way.
You could argue 22 is a different story. Let's get to a couple more super chats and we'll get out of here. Caleb, appreciate you. I didn't get all your 199 ones earlier. I'll read them out later today. Caleb, I appreciate you, brother. He says, acting as if 22 is not a running team is wild. We were a run RPO team at the end of 21 and 22. Our decline was during the 10-1 run.
I just said that. RPO, RPR. I said that. I mean, yes, they've scaled back on the RPOs and the RPRs because teams have figured it out. Opposition, they're doing a better job. So they're trying to evolve it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it looks ugly. At the end of games, at the end of meaningful games, when they have to get drives, there's been a couple times you see where Jalen Hurts turns it on in the running game. It makes it that much more difficult, and he's clinched some games that way. So, but they know they can't do it as consistently for a lot of reasons. And they're trying to evolve it from that after probably staying a little too stagnant. And again, I also think people don't realize when Nick started, they always hiccup that, the 2-5 start, when they had too much, when they were putting too much on Jalen Hurts' plate, and they scaled it back to build the offense around him specifically. And that's when they took off. And now, at this stage of his career, if you're scaling back again, that's not a positive sign. It's got to evolve. And again, if you don't believe in the quarterback, that's fine. It's a legitimate conversation to have, but it's not a good sign if you're trying to scale back on the quarterback.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that for sure. Caleb says 3,700 yards, 22 touchdowns, 6 ends, got you to the game, John.
Why?
He's talking about the quarterback stats, which those are obviously not.
I don't care. I don't care. I said RPO driven. He's also got 28 touchdowns running the football. I don't care how you get in the end zone over the past 2 seasons. I've always said that. Well, you've heard me on the everybody. Well, he's got 2 touchdowns. He doesn't whatever. Who gives a shit? He's in the end zone all the time. Is 6 points running the same as 6 points? Is 6 points with a tush push the same as 6 points to AJ Brown or Devontae?
John, you'd have to ask Jeffrey Lurie that question. He might not think so.
Well, he paid the guy $250 million, so I'm sure he's fine with it.
Yeah, well, I remember the famous meeting with Doug after he wins in Lambeau. Oh, why'd you run the ball so much? Matthew Halpin says, you guys ever going to do a live show and do a meet and greet? Matthew, I'd love to do one, man. That would be a lot of fun. We haven't had the opportunity yet this year, but if it ever comes up, Matthew, we will take it and we will let you guys know if we ever do that. John, let's get out of here, man. Final thoughts. Thanks for going overtime today. We're way over. Your final thoughts on the Eagles' 28-3 win over the New York Football Giants yesterday.
Hey, very knocking the pin down. Nothing. I think people misunderstand. They did exactly what they were supposed to do, and they did it emphatically, and they did it with some style points, and they made people happy. It's nothing but positive. There is no transitive property, though, from this football game, other than giving some confidence to the defense, which I think
not even a smidge, not even
which is well needed. No, because how many times are going to be up 21-3? And not only you can be up 21-3 against again, Green Bay. You're not comfortable. You're not going to just run the football because you're not going to just bang it because hey man, if they score and then they score right back in the football game, that wasn't going to happen. Nothing wrong with it. There's no transit of property, but it's not their fault who they played, and it's not their fault the fans were stupid and got Saquon Barkley fired up. Hey, ride it. Rode the wave. Rode the wave.
Barkley, John, 658 rushing yards on the season, his most in Eagles history through the first 6 games. He's approaching rarefied air in Philadelphia if he keeps up.
Hey, and you know what I love most about Saquon Barkley? He doesn't give a shit about numbers, just like me.
Yeah, that was a good story that Nick gave.
He was 13 yards away from his career high, and he could have had a 200-yard game. And you heard Nick say he said that, and he said, let the other guys eat. And Kenny Gainwell had a big game as well. And he said, let the other guys eat. I don't give a shit about numbers. He's going to have good games. He had a great game. Didn't have a great game against Cleveland.
No.
There's going to be ups and downs. They might come at Cincinnati, might come in like Vic did against New Orleans, coming off this game and say, you know what? We can't let this guy beat us. And they might put 7 people up front and say, we're going to try to shut this down. But the good, the most beautiful thing about Saquon Barkley, it could be 1 yard, 2 yards, -2 yards, and then bang, 55.
Yeah.
So he's always, I always make the baseball analogy. It'd be Aaron Judge, strikeout, and then bang, 3-run home run. So that's he's always got that in his back pocket.
Yep, appreciate it. Good takeaways there, John. I said this about Saquon yesterday. He looks younger than ever. I mean, the dude does not look like a dude that's got 5-6 years in the league and was ran into the ground in New York. But maybe we'll see if he can keep it up. Caleb says, "Run the ball." LOL, you guys are amazing, John. You're a legend. Caleb, appreciate it, man. That's what JAKIB's all about: freedom of thought, and everybody can express their own opinions as long as you're respectful and do it in a great way. And I appreciate you bringing that to the table today, John. Great stuff as always. Appreciate you going overtime. Chuck says, Zander, you're going to do the jersey giveaway today. Chuck, that'll be tomorrow, man. So I'll be doing after hours on Birds tomorrow. I'll let John drop off at 10, and then I'll do the jersey giveaway tomorrow. So big shout out to our 2 new members today, Matthew Mazzoni. Appreciate you, Matthew. And I think we had one more who joined. Yep, Chan joined in the beginning of the show. So thank you both for becoming members today. Johnny Mac, great show, my man. I'll talk to you tomorrow morning on Birds 365, right, brother?
All right. Thanks, everybody. Overreaction. Get hyped. Victory Monday.
Bully ball, Johnny Mac. Bully ball. Thanks, everybody. See you next time on Birds 365.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.